Good day, everyone. I'd like to start with a simple question. Have you ever walked into your classroom with a great lesson plan, only to spend more time managing behavior than teaching? If your answer is yes, you are not alone. Every teacher has experienced that at some point. Early in my career, I thought classroom management meant having a quiet classroom. Over time, I realized that's not always true. A quiet classroom doesn't always mean students are learning, and an active classroom doesn't always mean they are off task. Today, I'd like to share practical strategies that can help us create classrooms where students are engaged, respectful, and ready to learn. These aren't quick fixes. They are simple strategies supported by research and real classroom experience that you can adapt to your own teaching context. So let's get started. Before we begin exploring the strategies, I'd like to clarify what I hope you will gain from today's webinar. This session isn't about giving you dozens of classroom management techniques. In fact, if you leave today with just one or two strategies that you can confidently apply in your classroom, I will consider our time together a success. We will explore how to prevent disruptions rather than simply react to them, how to build positive relationships with students, and how small changes in our daily routines can make a significant difference in classroom behavior. As you listen today, I'd like you to keep your own classroom in mind. Whenever we discuss a strategy, ask yourself, how could I adapt this to fit my students? Because the best classroom management strategy is always the one that works for your learners. Every teacher experiences classroom challenges, whether you are in your first year or your 12th year. Some classrooms struggle with excessive talking, others with students calling out answers, difficult transitions, or low engagement. Here's something I have learned over the years. Most disruptive behavior doesn't happen because students want to make our lives difficult. Often, they are confused, disengaged, seeking attention, or simply unsure of what's expected. Instead of immediately asking, how do I stop this behavior? Try asking, why is this behavior happening? That small shift in thinking helps us respond more effectively and often prevents the small issues from becoming much bigger ones. Let's start with a mistake that almost every teacher has made, raising our voice. Usually, we don't shout because we are angry. We shout because we are frustrated. We have repeated the instruction several times. Students are still talking, and we feel we are losing control. The problem is that shouting may stop the behavior for a few moments, but it doesn't teach students what we expect. In fact, they may begin waiting until the teacher raises their voice before responding. Instead of becoming louder, experienced teachers often become calmer. They pause, move closer to students, or use established routines to regain attention. Real authority doesn't come from speaking louder, it comes from being calm, consistent, and predictable. So, if shouting isn't the answer, what is? One of the most effective classroom management tools is actually our own emotional control. When students become louder, our instinct is often to match their energy. But experienced teachers usually do the opposite. They pause, lower their voice, and speak calmly. Think about a student who becomes upset after receiving corrective feedback. If we react emotionally, the situation often escalates. But if we remain calm and speak quietly, we are modeling the behavior we expect from our students. Students don't just listen to what we say, they watch how we respond. A calm teacher creates a calmer classroom. Sometimes removing a student from the classroom is necessary, especially when safety is at risk. But it shouldn't be our first response. Imagine a student who keeps talking during your lesson. Sending them out may solve today's disruption, but it doesn't teach them how to behave differently tomorrow. Before removing a student, consider other options. Move closer to them, give a quiet reminder, or offer a simple choice. For example, you can continue working with your group or you can complete the activity independently. Our goal isn't just to stop inappropriate behavior, It's to help students develop self-control and make better choices over time. One of the simplest ways to improve behavior is to pay more attention to what students are doing right. Imagine 20 students are working quietly while two are talking. Our instinct is to focus on the two students. Instead, try recognizing the positive behavior. You might say, "Thank you to everyone who already has their notebook open." Very often, the remaining students quietly follow without being corrected. This doesn't mean ignoring inappropriate behavior. It means leading with positive reinforcement. When students feel their effort is noticed, they are much more likely to repeat those positive behaviors. The words we choose every day have a powerful impact on our students. Think about the difference between saying "you are always talking" and "let's make sure everyone has a chance to listen." The first labels the student, the second redirects the behavior while preserving the relationship. Students may forget many of the lessons we teach, but they often remember how we made them feel. Whenever possible, focus on the behavior rather than the person. Correct the respect, encourage with sincerity, and remember that positive relationships are one of the strongest foundation of effective classroom management. Here's a strategy that often surprises teachers. When students become noisy, our instinct is to become louder. Instead, try doing the opposite. Lower your voice, wait, stand still. Students quickly notice that something has changed, and many will naturally stop talking and look toward you. The same idea applies when students seem tired or disengaged. Instead of matching their low energy, greet them with enthusiasm and positivity. As teachers, we often set the emotional tone of the classroom. Sometimes the most effective response isn't doing more, it's responding differently. Did you know that sometimes the most effective classroom management strategy requires no words at all? Students pay attention not only to what we say, but also to how we move, where we stand, and the expressions on our faces. For example, if a student starts chatting while you are teaching, instead of interrupting the lesson, simply walk closer to them while continuing to teach. In many cases, that's enough for the student to refocus without feeling embarrassed. Simple actions like eye contact, moving around the classroom, or raising your hand for silence can be more effective than repeated verbal reminders. Sometimes your presence speaks louder than your voice. Every classroom needs a quick and respectful way to regain students' attention. One strategy that works very well is call and response. The idea is simple. You use a familiar phrase and the students respond immediately. For younger, it might be "class, class," and they reply "yes, yes." For older students, it could be a countdown or simply raising your hand. The secret isn't the words themselves, it's the routine. Students need to practice it regularly until it becomes automatic. Instead of repeating, "Can I have your attention?" several times, one consistent signal helps everyone refocus quickly and allows you to continue teaching without frustration. One mistake many teachers make is assuming students already know classroom routines. The truth is, routines must be taught just like any other lesson. Think about the first week of school. If you want students to enter quietly, transition smoothly, or respond to a signal, don't just tell them once. Demonstrate it, practice it, and repeat it until it becomes a habit. For example, if you are introducing a call and response routine, practice it several times before you actually need it. The time you invest in teaching routines at the beginning of the year will save you countless interruptions throughout the rest of the year. Let's look at a fun strategy that's especially effective with younger students. At the beginning of the lesson, secretly choose one student as the secret agent. Don't reveal who it is. Tell the class that if the secret agent follows the classroom expectations, everyone earns a small reward. Suddenly, every student begins wondering, could it be me? Without any reminders, the students encourage one another to stay focused and follow the rules. The reward doesn't have to be something big. It could be extra reading time, choosing a classroom game, or simply celebrating the class's success. The goal isn't the reward itself. It's creating a classroom culture where students motivate each other to make positive choices. So, why does this strategy work so well? First, it creates curiosity. Students stay engaged because anyone could be the secret agent. Second, it encourages positive peer influence. Instead of reminding each other to break the rules, students remind each other to follow them. Most importantly, it shifts responsibility from the teacher to the class. Students begin seeing good behavior as a shared responsibility rather than something enforced by the teacher. Of course, no single strategy works forever. That's why effective teachers build a toolbox of different approaches and choose the one that best fits the situation. Classroom management isn't about finding one perfect strategy, it's about knowing when to use the right one. Let's apply these ideas to a few real classroom situations. Imagine students are cleaning up after an activity, but instead of putting materials away, they are talking and moving around the room. Rather than shouting, use your attention signal. Wait calmly, acknowledge the first students who began cleaning up. Positive behavior often spreads quickly. Now, imagine a student repeatedly calls out answers. Instead of saying, stop interrupting, try saying, I love your enthusiasm. Let's give everyone a chance to think before we answer. You have corrected the behavior while encouraging participation. The key question to ask ourselves is not how do I stop this behavior, but what's the best way to teach the behavior I want to see? Let's look at two more examples. You are explaining a concept when you notice several students checking their phones. Instead of stopping the lesson and calling them out, continue teaching while moving closer to them. Often, your presence is enough to bring their attention back without interrupting the learning of the entire class. Now, consider a classroom that's completely silent, but students aren't engaged. Some have their heads on desk, while others are staring out the window. In this case, the issue isn't behavior, it's engagement. Sometimes the best classroom management strategy isn't a consequence, it's redesigning the learning experience by adding movement, collaboration, or student choice. Behavior often tells us what students need. Our job is to understand the message before deciding on the response. As we come to the end of today's webinar, I'd like to leave you with one important thought. Classroom management is not about controlling students, it's about creating the conditions where learning can happen. Today, we have explored practical strategies that help us prevent the problems rather than simply react to them. Whether it's staying calm, teaching routines, using positive reinforcement, or building stronger relationships, every small change contributes to a more positive classroom environment. You don't have to implement everything tomorrow. Choose one strategy, apply it, and observe the difference. Small changes repeated over time often have the greatest impact. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you leave with me with new ideas and the motivation to continue creating classrooms where every student has the opportunity to learn and thrive.